What's up, guys? This is Benny Ricciardi with FTN Bets on the FTN Network, bringing you our NBA prop report for Wednesday, January 6th. Massive 11-game slate with a lot of stuff to talk about. So let's get into it. As I said, this is a massive 11-game slate, and we have a ton of edges here. And like I did yesterday on the smaller slate, I only picked out the biggest edges that we had available. Yesterday, we had some late-breaking news in the Brooklyn game that cost us a couple units on a few of the bets that we had. And honestly, I wouldn't doubt if there's some late-breaking news today. But we have a lot of bets that are spread out amongst a lot of different games, so I think we'll still be able to find some value. The first one I want to talk about is Jason Tatum points here today. We project Tatum for over 30 points here today. And if you have a BetMGM available, they actually have an odds boost of plus 200, I think, is what it's paying for 30 points. If you really want to take that chance. But for me, I like the over 26.5 with us projecting him for over 30. You can get that on FanDuel at minus 102. It's a 0.75 unit bet there for me. The next one I want to talk about, Malcolm Brogdon, points, rebounds, and assists. We have this number over 32.5. The points number is the big thing here because we project him for, I think, over 20% above his points number. But we also have slight over projections on his rebound and his assist number today. So the best number where we have the biggest edge is actually for the points, rebounds, and assists put together. Over 32.5, you can get that reduced juice at minus 104 over on FanDuel. One of the biggest edges we have today is Domantas Sabonis rebounding number. Over 11.5 is the number here. We have this as a full unit bet. BetMGM has it at plus 100. DraftKings and FanDuel, I think, have it at like minus 110 or minus 115, somewhere around there. Still not a bad number. Definitely still within, the playable full 1 unit of the edge that we have. But obviously, if we can get it at plus 100, we're going to take that better than minus 110 or minus 115. The next one up is Clint Capela rebounds, over 12.5. Capela and Sabonis are both projected for over 15 rebounds in our system today. So I like the Sabonis one better because it's 11.5 at plus 100, but I like the Capela one too at 12.5 at minus 106 over on FanDuel. That is also a full unit bet and more than a 20% edge for us. Andrew Wiggins points total over 17.5, 3/4 of a unit bet here at minus 121. If this was minus 110, it would be a full unit bet, but the best number I could find was minus 121 at that over 17.5. If you can get it at even money over 18.5, it's basically the same as taking it at 17.5 minus 121. So that would be another thing you could do there. I don't know how these numbers are going to move during the day, but like I said, the best number I could find on it at 17.5 was a minus 121 was the cheapest price. Next one we can look at. We have a couple Lonzo Ball props here today. These are actually 1 unit bets if you do them on their own. I didn't want to have 2 full units on Lonzo Ball, so I made him 3/4 of a unit bets because one is on his rebounds, one is on his assists. The reason I didn't want to go full unit on both of them, even though the edge says we should be going full unit on both of them, is because I really don't want to have 2 units on one player for an evening. Because if he gets in foul trouble or if the game turns into a blowout, you could wind up losing both of those bets, and you just don't want to have too much on it. Now, again, these are both big edges, though. We have him for over 8 assists, and the number here is over 6.5. We have him for over 7 rebounds, and the number here is over 5.5. So both of them are at plus money, and I felt like both of them are worth a bet. So I put 3/4 of a unit on both of those Lonzo Ball props. In the same game, his teammate, Eric Bledsoe, 4.5 rebounds was way too low. We had this number over 6 here, so nice edge there. I went with 0.75 units on this one. Again, I didn't want to have too much on one team on one side of one game. So I made all of these 3/4 of a unit bets. If you're only making one of these bets, you can make it for a full unit. I did it for a little bit less because I spread it out, and I didn't want my total risk on this game to be too big. So the next number we can talk about, a couple guys with some scoring props in this Phoenix game here. Mikal Bridges is the lesser of the two for me, over 12.5 points, minus 111. The one I like slightly more is Jay Crowder, over 10.5 points for a full unit bet at minus 109. I actually put a full unit on both of these, but if you're only going to play one of the two, I like Crowder at 10.5 more than I like Bridges at 12.5. It's just we actually project Bridges for about a point or two higher.
but because Crowder's number is 2 points lower, Crowder has a slightly bigger edge on our projection versus what the number the books are offering is. Next one, we can talk about Al Horford. Al Horford over 10.5 points, 3/4 of a unit bet, -110. I put this in on DraftKings, but DraftKings, FanDuel, Sugar House, and BetMGM all have this at -110. If you find a better number than that, obviously take it. But, if the numbers move and one of them is better later on in the day when you bet it, take the best number. But remember what we talked about. If you're playing a lot of these props and you're worried that, eventually you're going to crush the book and you're going to get limited, this is one that's the same price on 3 or 4 different sites. So spread around your plays. If you already have a bunch of stuff on DraftKings or on FanDuel today, if you have a Sugar House account or a BetMGM account, you can go throw this in over there. It's the exact same price, so it's not going to change anything. But it does keep you a little bit under the radar and, not banging one book all day long and getting yourself into a position where you could eventually get limited. So the next number we have Duncan Robinson points over 11.5. The way Duncan Robinson is, probably going to be a lot of 3-point shots that are going to get knocked down here for him to get this number. But I do like the over 11.5 here for him. We have this as a full 1-unit bet with a 30% edge on our projection versus number. -102 on FanDuel, I felt was a really good price. So that's why we went with the full unit on it. And then I have 2 under bets that I like here today as well. Nikola Vucevic under 21.5 points. Now, listen, I don't think Vuce is going to have a bad game per se, but 21.5 it's going to require him to have a very good scoring game, and I just don't see that today. So 1-unit bet on that, -105 on DraftKings. We only have him projected for about 16 or 17 points today. So there was a pretty decent edge on this here. It was over 20%. And then the last one I want to talk about is Tobias Harris rebounds. Tobias Harris rebounds under 7.5. Full unit bet, -102 on DraftKings here today. We have him projected for closer to 5. I think it was even under 5.5. So again, pretty significant edge when you have 2 full rebounds versus our projection and the number. So that was worth a full 1-unit bet here at -102. And that sums it up for the day. As you can see, we lost about 2 units yesterday, mostly because of the Brooklyn Nets. But again, stuff like that is going to happen where the lineup changes and guys get different numbers and, guys get different playing time, which is what we saw yesterday. But we're still positive for the year, both with the overall record and on the props. So hopefully we'll be able to keep that going and build on it today with all these plays.